Hi, this is Micornus Phokane, the leader and the founder of Church Governance Solutions. Today, I want to just deal with organizing a church conference. And I want to speak a little bit about just basics about organizing a church conference. And this is basically for some of you who might not have organized a conference before, or you've organized conferences, but yet not in a bigger scale yet. And I want to speak to those pastors and ministers that are organizing conferences and they would love to get just some advices on how to organize a conference. Now, the first thing that I want to advise you to do is to have a clear objective. Why do you need a conference? A clear objective. Why do you need a conference? Because you need to know exactly what you want to do, what you want to source out of a conference. In other words, at the end of the conference, what is that you would love to have achieved as an objective? Because that's very important for you to know that in advance so that you don't just organize conference for the sake of organizing conference. There are times when people are organizing conferences because they have seen friends organizing conferences, they have seen churches organizing conferences, and as a result, they think that conferences should just be organized because you are running a church. And that is the reason why we emphasize you need a clear objective. Why are you organizing a conference? What do you want to address? What do you want to achieve? What do you want to get out of the conference? So those are type of questions that you should ask yourself before you even think of putting up a conference. Because if you just organize a conference, you may gather people together. But if there's no objective, you're not going to be sure of what you're going to deliver and what you want to get out of it anyway. And as a result, it becomes a waste of time, it becomes waste of money because you would have invested a lot in something that you don't know what objective you want to achieve. When you know the objective, then you focus it basically to that objective so that you focus on getting that which you want to get out of that objective, the results that you want to get out of that objective. And that becomes very important for you to look at that from the word go, because when you don't have an objective, as I said, it becomes very broad and very wide. And as a result, you do something that you're not going to achieve any results out of it. Now, the second thing that you need to consider is to find a way to express your objective in a very simpler terms, because most of the time we find that the objective is so broad as well. And you have got a lot in that objective to an extent that you don't even know what you will actually say you've achieved thereafter. So, simpler terms, we're talking about putting up a theme that is easily understandable, a theme that will actually direct the thoughts and the minds of the people to focus on a certain theme that you are going to deliver through the conference, and people can actually clearly say, I want to gain out of this. And even the attendance of the people, many decide on the theme or rather the objective that you have, and people decide on whether they need to learn out of that theme or not, because otherwise people don't just attend conferences. They would love interesting and something that is beneficiary to them as well. Now, this is very important because even your own members, it must be an objective that gains them, that makes them to get interested in. And that is the reason we say you must outline it in a very simpler terms as well, and don't become too ambiguous in a way so that they know exactly what the conference is all about, even your own members, and they can attend knowing what they're going to gain out of it. So simpler terms of your theme, simpler terms of your objective is very important that you do that. Now, the other thing that you need to consider maybe is make your theme as well very clear. Because when the theme is shorter and simpler according to your mind, but you must ask yourself, is it clear enough to the people? Not only to the people that are coming to sit and listen to, but also the speakers that we'll invite. Because the more you make it difficult and bombastic, you're making it difficult for them to actually articulate it, for them to understand exactly what they're delivering. Because the simpler the theme, the more deliverable it becomes, and therefore the more reachable your objective, because then the speakers will be able to speak to the theme clearly and concisely as well, so that your people can actually gain a lot out of it. And most of the time when we put up difficult themes, we are basically making the objective difficult as well. And you're making life difficult for the speakers that are preparing, because then they find it difficult to prepare for a theme that is not easy to articulate. And I mean, really, sometimes we find the themes out there that are difficult really to outline, because most of the time we just actually come up with themes that we're not sure how can it be articulated ourselves, and we expect the speakers to actually struggle with it until they come up with a conclusion of how then they're going to deliver it. And I want to say you need to make it actually much more clearer. It must be easier to address. So the source of the speaker best for addressing your theme, you must actually make sure that you source those people that are actually in line or knowledgeable about the theme. So therefore, when you are going to make an invitation or a choice of speakers, it must not be choice of speakers because they are your friends. It must not be choice of speakers because they are pastors next door to you. There must not be a choice of speakers because you're actually looking at people that will invite you back in their churches. No, it must be basically because this is a speaker that is appropriate for this conference based on their expertise and their knowledge, based on their calling and direction that they're called in. Are they able to speak in a conference? Because we must agree to the point that not every pastor, not every preacher is a conference speaker. Not every pastor, not every preacher can actually address certain topics as well. So there are topics that other people specialize in. For instance, if we speak about marriage issues, there are people that are specializing in that. And you can actually zoom into that with specific speakers that are comfortable with that. So therefore, your invitation of speakers in this particular conference, it must be that you've actually listened to the people that you invite. You know exactly what content they have so that they can be able to deliver the appropriate content for your conference. They are able to speak to the theme articulatively in a way that it is clearer to your people. Therefore, you can reach your objectives thus far because of that. So that's very important then, that the speakers be aligned with that. So you source people that will be able to speak to the theme. So you need to have enough budget as well to cover the cost of the conference. Now, I want to emphasize that the conference is costly because, number one, the speakers that you invite, you need to reimburse their traveling. You need some of them who are coming from far to book them accommodation, and therefore it's very important. You need to organize food and amenities that are related to the conference, including things that are needed for that conference. Remember that you might need also to fix your sound at that particular time to make the conference ready. So therefore, that is additional cost that we're speaking about. Buying of amenities like water, towels, and all those things that are necessary in a conference, you definitely need to budget for that. Because if you don't have budgets, then the conference may fail, because conference need money. And I'm sure many of you may understand very clearly that you cannot run a conference without money. And that's very important that you budget first and you put up your conference in a proper manner with proper budgets, and you are going to get it successful that way. So have enough budget for your conference. You need to never rely on offering for blessing speakers. No, not relying on the people that will attend, that they will give offering, and therefore you'll budget for thanking the speakers, or what we call honorarium. And that's very important, that you don't plan through offering that you cannot anticipate how many people are gonna come. Because even though there might be many people coming, you cannot anticipate how much they will give. So therefore, you cannot rely on offering actually to budget for the speakers. And that's something that I want to emphasize right now. Remember, on this platform, We are basically restoring godly order in the house of the orderly God. So we want to avoid whereby you invite a speaker, and when they finish ministering, you say, God bless you, thank you very much. And then they travel. You never reimburse their petrol. You never reimburse their traveling. And you never considered the fact that you need to actually wash their hands in the sense of honorarium as well. So there are very, very important aspects that are around this particular theme, because we have seen people that invite people from far distance, but yet they've got no budget for traveling for those people. And that is a total disorder when you organize a conference that way. So remember that also, the length of the conference should depend on the budget that you have, because you cannot prolong a conference for 2 weeks and therefore run it for 2 weeks and expecting it to run properly while you don't have the budget. So if you don't have enough budget, run it for short days, 2 days, 3 days, or even 1 day sometimes. There's nothing wrong about that you run your conference shortly so that you can be able to have enough budget and run it effectively. So that's something that we need to highlight as well, that the length of your conference should be actually related to the amount of budget that you have as well. Very, very important, because the budget then becomes very key. So send invites to the speakers early. Please ensure that adequate venue arrangement has been made. Avoid too many speakers sometimes, particularly when you're still starting a church, when your church is still small. Because the more the speakers, the more costly the conference becomes. And sometimes the issue of many speakers as well, you might actually get to inconsistencies of addressing the topic, because many speakers, they are not at the same level sometimes. There are those that will come with their best favorite messages, or they will speak not to the topic, because it's not everybody else who's knowledgeable or even good in speaking to the topic. There are those ministers that when you invite them to come and minister in a particular theme, they'll say, no, I will rely on the Holy Spirit to lead me. And they don't prepare. And they don't actually come up with preparation towards that topic. They will end up coming to deliver their best and favorite messages. And that causes a lot of confusion, because it doesn't make you to meet the objective that you've set for that particular conference. So please let us be aware of that as well. So send the invites earlier. Make sure that your speakers respond as well, because those that cannot make it, then let them say it in advance so that you can have actually ability to invite others that can stand in the gap. So that's very important that you do so. But also avoid using bombastic terminology that will even confuse your guest speakers when it comes to the theme, because we have said that the theme must be simple and clear. So therefore, don't use difficult languages that will make your speakers to be confused. Otherwise, they may not be able to address the conference appropriately. So make sure that the theme is broad enough. It allows the speakers to go a little bit deeper and expatiate it a little bit more. So therefore, it's very important that your theme is being scrutinized appropriately from yourself. So please make sure that you tie the theme to scriptural basis, or rather biblical basis. That's very important that you do so, and let your theme be closely related as well to the overall vision of the ministry that you're running, because by so doing, then you are actually facilitating the progress of the ministry through the vision, through the conference that you are running as well. I want to end up here today, your host, Micornus Phokane. I'm the leader and the founder of Church Governance Solutions. Remember, on this platform, we are restoring godly order in the house of the orderly God. I want to draw your attention to our social media platforms. Our Facebook page is Church Governance Solutions, and my personal Facebook page, Micornus Phokane. So please follow us on those pages. Don't forget the Instagram and the TikTok account. They are under Micornus Phokane as well. So please make sure that you like them and you follow them. Our YouTube channel is under Young Men Empowerment Forum, and I want to urge you to really please subscribe to our YouTube channel. So please click the notification button as well, so that you are actually invited through the notification when we have posted a video of this kind, and the good Lord will bless us to do that. Now, until we meet again with another topic, may the good Lord bless you and allow us to check out right here and say cheers for now.